Hey folks, I'm Papa Boris, and in this video I'm going to show you how to play Warhammer 40k Mechanicus. This is a game I've been wanting to do a video series on for like literally 4 years. It's a real hidden gem tactical game that I have spent many hours enjoying, and I'd like to share the joy with you. I will be doing a playthrough of this game on insane difficulty, but in this video I'm just going to teach you the rules. So let's talk a little bit about that. I do recommend when you first play the game that you don't skip the tutorial because I feel like it's handy just to go through it, but I will skip it here. And if you watch this video all the way, you can skip it as well. I don't recommend checking either of these boxes because they make it much harder. I will do my best to make the game look easy on very hard difficulty. However, I recommend for your first game that you play on normal. I just didn't play this game for a couple of years and came back and got demolished on the first level. I remember when I was first playing this game on normal difficulty, it was so hard, I actually almost gave up. I was on the brink of giving up, and I'm glad I didn't, but it is a challenging game. So I'd recommend just sticking to normal even if you're experienced with tactical games, unless of course I'm just dumb and you're a genius. I also recommend, though I will not explain why, that you make 2 selections over here in this incredibly detailed customized difficulty menu. Without explaining why, I would suggest that you enable enhanced exploration. This makes the game easier and, in my opinion, more fun. And I also recommend that you click on this. Tech can only be equipped once per TP. That makes the game, in my opinion, harder and more fun. So these two kind of cancel out in terms of difficulty. So those are just my suggestions, but regardless of difficulty, I think that both of them make the game substantially more fun to play. Okay, let's go ahead and start a game. So this game is not a roguelike. It is a mission-based game where you have the home base where you make decisions and do stuff, and then you go out and fight the missions and try to win. The missions are scripted, so while there is a little bit of randomness in each mission, like the maps and the battles, those are all scripted and those are all predefined, as are all the events that you will see throughout the missions. So it is not a roguelike game. It's so weird nowadays that you have to specify that. At the home base, you can make changes to your cohort. Your main units on all the battles are going to be your tech priests. So let's talk about how that works. Your tech priest can equip a whole butt ton of stuff eventually, although at the beginning of the game, they can really just equip like a weapon or 2. We're going to make Menarius here our ranged mech, and we're going to give him this Phosphor Blast Pistol. And we're going to make Jeremiah here our melee guy, and we're going to give him this Power Axe. Though I will mention that in this game, the concept of ranged and melee is not that strong. So it's very possible that both your tech priests, or eventually all of your tech priests, because you can have more than one if you want, will be melee and ranged. This game does some really cool stuff with action economy that makes it hard to think of traditional turn-based paradigms like tank and healer and DPS, which I really appreciate. It's just wholly original as far as I'm concerned. Okay, now everything that you can equip has an augment capacity. You can see down there in the bottom left where it says augment required. This person has only 1 augment slot, and putting on this power axe will use it up. But of course, as you upgrade your tech priests more, they can have more and more of these augment slots, which allows them to equip more and more powerful things. Now, the other important thing is the disciplines. This is where you upgrade your tech priest. And this is going to be a heck of a big menu. Blah, all this stuff. So basically, you've got this resource called Blackstone, which you start with 300 of, and you can upgrade your tech priests by paying Blackstone between missions. This gives them special abilities, cool equipment to wear, and eventually, if you get to the very bottom of these tech trees, some really, really overpowered stuff. Also, the upgrades increase the capacity of the tech priest, which allows them to equip more stuff. So I'm not going to go over all this because that would take forever, but I invite you to explore this on your own. I'll just give a brief overview. Explorator is kind of like the melee tree. Secutor is kind of like the leader tree for your other units. You do have other units that aren't tech priests that you will potentially deploy in battle, and the Secutor makes them stronger. Tech Auxilium is a bit of a varied tree. It's kind of like a paladin, sort of. It has a religious element and a variety of different effects. Lex Mechanic is kind of like the mana tree. You have cognition points in battle, which you spend to do things with, and the Lex Mechanic gives you more of those. And Genseer is kind of like the healer tree. This is where you can heal people. And then Dominus is sort of like the ranged tree. This is for ranged attacking. All of them are strong in their own ways. All of them have a really overpowered ability at the end. For example, Engine Seer just like fully heals your entire squad every 3 turns for the low price of 1 cognition point. This fully fills up your cognition gauge, and so on. So anyways, that's what they are. So we're going to go ahead and give this guy a... Let me go ahead and go over to the person that designated as my ranged guy. We'll give him an upgrade in the Dominus tree, so it increases his weapon range by 4. That costs 121 Blackstone. And notice that now to increase from rank 2 to rank 3, it costs a little more. From rank 1 to rank 2 costs 121, but from rank 2 to rank 3 costs 134. So the more that you upgrade your tech priests, the more expensive it becomes to upgrade them further. Now I'm going to upgrade this one again. At every odd level within a tree, you get some sort of special ability, either an active ability or a passive ability. At every even level, you unlock a piece of equipment, and this is a bit strange how it works, so I want to talk about it. So when I click on this, I get to choose one of the 4 pieces of equipment that is associated with the Dominus tree. Every single tree has its own torso augment, leg augment, head augment, and arm augmentation. When you pick one, for example, let's get these arm augments that increase energy damage by 1, you acquire it, and you can now equip it in the arm spot. There it is. Now my energy weapons do +1 damage. The next time I hit one of these upgrades, I will choose another piece of equipment from the Dominus tree. I've already taken the arms, so I would choose between the head, the torso, and the legs. And then that means that when you get to this spot, you're just taking whichever piece of equipment from the tree that you have not taken yet. Now, what some guides will tell you to do is to get to the second level of like 4 different trees and pick the best piece of equipment from those trees. And then you get like really, really good equipment. This is dumb, bad, and wrong. You should just pile drive down one tree of your choice because the overpowered ability at the bottom is way more significant than like the marginal value of a slightly better piece of equipment in a slot from some other tree. Just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, so now this person actually has an extra augment capacity. They have 3, 1 for this pistol, 1 for the arms I just got, and 1 more that's currently not being used. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about tech. So there are blessings in this game called Canticles. You only start with 1. The Litany of Life. A blessing can just be used once per mission. So once per mission, this allows you to restore 5 HP to the active unit. There are a whole butt ton of other ones, and you unlock them by doing various things. So these are kind of like achievements within every run. So within every run, you're going to want to, use Canticles so that you unlock this stuff. I'm not going to talk about these because that'll take forever. You can discover those on your own. All I want to mention is that there is one series of Canticles, the Craft, which give +3 damage, +6 damage, and the final one +9 damage to the next physical attack. There's 2 types of damage, physical and energy. And these require you to complete an entire mission without using a Canticle. So to get this biggest one, you have to do that 3 times. In my opinion, not using a Canticle during a mission gets harder and harder the further in the game that you go, so you may want to try to beat your first 3 missions without using Canticles to unlock this. That'll be a little bit challenging, but I believe it's only going to get more challenging the further on you go. So that's just something to keep in mind. Of course, you can just ignore that and not get the Canticle that improves your physical damage. You have a whole butt ton of other things to choose from. The troops are like your crappy units that aren't your tech priests. You can unlock a whole lot of them, but at the beginning we just have these servitors. So I'm not going to talk anymore about that. Let's go ahead and pick a mission. This is one of the random parts of the game. So the missions are scripted. There's like a whole web of like if you finish this mission, then unlocks these other missions and so on. And there are some rewards that you get at certain times. But the like weapon and equipment rewards are somewhat random. So in this particular case, if I do the Killing Jar, I will get a Macro Stubber, which is a ranged physical weapon. And I will get a Curatio Claw, which is a healing item. but that's not necessarily always going to be the case. So in the mission screen, you can see what your rewards are for completing the mission, and you can also see what enemies you will face, as well as a general sense of the difficulty. Basically, the first 2 missions are easy. After that, they're all normal, except for some boss killing missions, which are called hard. Our other mission here has just the Necron Warriors. It gives this thing, which I think is honestly kind of crappy, and this thing, which is like a crappy healing weapon, but the advantage of this one compared to this one is that it doesn't have a cognition cost, it's free. So we'll just go here because this is a much easier mission. When you click Launch Mission, you can choose which tech priest to take with you into battle, and you also can choose which troops to take. You have, at the beginning, 6 total things you can take with you, but you're pretty much always going to be taking 2 tech priests, and so we'll just fill up the rest of the row with servitors because that's the only thing that we have. You can also choose your Canticles, but at the beginning you only have 1 unlocked, so there's nothing else you can do, and we'll go ahead and deploy. The story in this game is really cool. I recommend not skipping the story stuff. I thought that the ambiance of the world and just the world building in general was really cool. I know nothing about the Warhammer 40k universe or Mechanicus in particular, but I still found this, on my first playthrough, really, really engaging to read all the stuff going on. Okay, so here we are in a mission. The way the mission works is you progress from room to room and have various events and things that happen. The mission is defeated when you get to this square and usually do some kind of a fight. Later missions might have more than one of these glowing diamonds, then you have to travel to all of them to complete the mission. Now, the significance of this is that every time you move to a room, 2 awakeness levels are added to the meter, and every 5th one, the awakeness level increases by 1. The further that you increase this, the more negative effects happen. So from 0 to 1, not a big deal. At 2, there start to be extra enemies in battle. At 3, the enemies awaken faster, which we'll talk about. At 4, there are even more enemies, and I forget what happens at 5, but you don't want to get to 5. So there's like a little bit of a pressure that you want to try to beat things quickly. You really probably don't want to explore every single room, even though you can get good things for doing that, because of this awakeness level. In addition, whatever the overall awakening level is at the end of the mission, that gets like added to a running total, and that's like the overall game clock. Like when it gets to 100%, you have to go fight the big bad guy. So there is like both an immediate pressure to not spend too much time exploring the map because it makes the mission a little bit harder as the awakeness level rises, but also there's like a meta pressure because your overall save file may get a little bit hairy if you have a really high awakeness level and you're not ready to face the final boss. Now there's 2 main types of things that you can see: glyphs and events. Mostly it's events, although the missions will have differing amounts of glyphs and events. Let's just do a glyph because it's the only thing here, so we can talk about the glyph. So glyphs, I think honestly are kind of a weird system. Basically, you pick one of these 2 glyphs and you get an effect. Each symbol here is a specific thing, and it will always be that thing. So I'm going to actually, you won't see this, but I'm going to look up the glyph guide on Steam to see what the heck these things do. So it would seem that this one gives bonus health, while that one damages the health of someone in your squad. The idea is on your first playthrough, you might just pick them randomly and try to remember which one's which. I find that kind of annoying, so I just look them up in the glyph guide. At the moment, the bonus health is irrelevant because, of course, all my squad's at full health right now. But you can get Blackstone from the glyph sometimes, which is nice because that, of course, lets you upgrade your tech priests more. Now, at each of these rooms with an exclamation mark, you're going to be given a little bit of story, as well as 3 choices. And this is what that setting I told you to turn on does, the enhanced exploration. It gives you a hint as to what sort of effect that particular choice will have. I prefer playing with that because this is all pre-scripted, so you could just theoretically save before each thing and reload if you get something bad, or just play through the game and learn what they all do and just know it. It's not giving you anything extra, it's just improving things from a quality of life perspective, so you don't feel like you have to reload stuff if you pick bad events. Now, here, this means it has something, the outcome has something to do with cognition points. You either gain them or lose them. Usually you gain them. The foot has something to do with initiative, meaning that either you get faster compared to the enemy or the enemy gets faster compared to you, meaning they're more likely to go earlier in the turn order. This is an important one. What this does is it gives you a schematic. And that's useful because even if the thing that you get, like the weapon or item you unlock, is not useful to you, it still takes it out of the pool for mission rewards. So the more that you get these schematics throughout the run, the more likely it is that you'll eventually get something in particular that you're looking for. When I play, there's a particular weapon I'm really hoping to get, and the more of these schematics that happen, the more likely I am to get that thing as a mission reward or just from one of these things. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this. I don't mind the enemies going earlier. Getting some cognition points is useful. You have a maximum of 4 at the beginning of the game, but you don't start with any. If you can pick up some cognition points before a battle, that'll make the battle much easier. Okay, so we unlocked this, which for 1 cognition point increases physical attacks by 2. It's not super great, but we just take it out of the reward pool. We got 2 cognition points, and now the enemies are faster, meaning that they will be more likely to go earlier in the turn order. You can see down here the initiative gauge. That'll tell you whether the enemies are likely to go before you, neutral, and it's random, or you are more likely to go before the enemy. Okay, let's do another one of these events. So at 1, nothing really changes, as far as I know. So here we can get more cognition. This is a bad one. The awakening level increases. That's the coffin. Sometimes it means the awakening level decreases, but like 99 times out of 100, this is going to increase the awakening level and the enemy gets faster. Or we can take a bit of damage and get some Blackstone. Now, you lose 10 Blackstone for every point of health that your tech priests are missing at the end of a mission. So if this damage goes on one of my tech priests, I will lose some of the Blackstone that I'm getting from this. The safest play is just to go here and start with 4 cognition, but I'm going to be greedy. We'll take the Blackstone and hope one of my servitors takes the damage. Okay, all units took 1. Well, that's a little bit unfortunate, so that's going to cost me 20 Blackstone after the mission. I gained 42, so I netted 42 Blackstone from that. But of course, the fact that the servitors are damaged might be relevant. Okay, now we're going to go here and we're going to do the fight. Okay, so let's talk about how combat works, because it really is quite interesting in this game. So up here you can see the order. You can see the enemies are going first, and then my people. Here, let me spin this around. The map has some features that are worth noting. So these glowy things are where enemies come out of if more enemies are going to spawn. This is a thing that you can scan to get more Blackstone. You can also destroy it. It has 5 hit points to take 2 bars out of the Tomb Awakening level. These things have cognition points. If you stand next to it, you get a cognition. The cognition also respawns at the beginning of each round. So if you're standing next to it at the beginning of the round, you actually get a cognition point immediately. And then this is a platform that will move back and forth between these 2 spots every turn. Now, at the start of the battle, you can choose where to put your tech priests, and you can also spawn servitors. One little bit of preliminary strategy is you generally don't want to spawn servitors at the beginning of the mission. What you want to do is spawn them later and do cool things with them. So the enemy, these are just your basic range guys. They do like 3 or 4 energy damage. They're very slow and their range is pretty bad. So what I'm going to do here with my range guy is I'm going to go here. Notice when I'm hovering over a square, you can see this little like blue gun icon appear over the enemy. That means that from that square, I am in range to hit that enemy. So we'll go here. We'll get our Blackstone. Come on. There we go. 75, very nice. And we're going to shoot this guy. So the starting blast pistol does 1 to 2 damage, 2 to 3 because I got those +1 damage arms. And it also reveals the statistics of the enemy. This is actually very important. Right now, I don't know what the enemy's health is, and I also don't know if they have any energy armor or physical armor. So being able to reveal the statistics is actually quite significant, so I know what I'm dealing with. Like this one doesn't have any armor, great, but if it had armor, I might choose to play differently. This thing goes once every other round, and you can do one of 2 things with it. You can either click on one of these cognition things to get a cognition point, or you can click on an enemy to reveal the enemy's stats. Right now I'm going to prefer to get some cognition, but it is a choice that you have to make, and it can be a significant one. Alright, now this is my melee guy, so what I'm going to do with him is I'm going to move up to one of these guys and start attacking. Now, you can see the blue area, that's where you can move with your movement points without spending any cognition points. I can spend a cognition point, however, to go anywhere in this yellow area, and I'm going to do that. Notice I can keep doing that. You can actually, if you have enough cognition points, you can just wander all around the map. And I am hoping at some point I'll have enough to be able to go over to here to this area and scan that thing. Now I'm going to be greedy and I'm going to take a cognition point. Which means I'm not going to see what this guy's statistics are. I am just going to pay a cognition point to whack him with my axe. And I don't know how much damage it did. I don't know if he has physical armor that blocks some of the damage. I don't know his health right now. I'm just in the blind. And I'm going to end the turn. Okay, so now we start a new round. At the beginning of each round, if you have cognition points, you have the opportunity to summon some help in the form of servitors. Also worth noting, there's an extra guy that came out here, but their range is pretty weak and their movement is slow, so it'll be a while before he gets up here and damages me. Oh, I was wrong. This platform goes in a triangle from here to here to here, and then up to here. So a very basic tactic that you're going to be doing a lot is what I like to call the servitor bomb. We're going to just summon 2 servitors right next to these guys. And this has a couple of functions. So first, I'm going to shoot at this guy, violating some basic rules of turn-based combat games, because I'm not focus firing. I will mention Machine Spirit is this thing. Each weapon gets Machine Spirit at every certain number of times that you shoot it. For this basic pistol, it's basically every other time, and it has a certain effect. For this one, the effect is just +1 damage. You can see that in the Machine Spirit window to the right of the red box. So I'll be doing an extra damage to this guy when I shoot him because of Machine Spirit. Okay, so this guy had 1 energy armor. And I guess that means I hit him pretty good with my physical damage axe. I am just going to step back here just in case this guy can hit me at range. I don't think he can, but I don't see any point in taking chances. So now, the servitors, they do opportunity attacks against these guys. And also, a cool thing about the servitors is every time they get hit by the enemy, they give you a cognition point. It costs a cognition point to summon them, but as long as they ever get hit, then you get that back. I'm also going to demonstrate another important mechanic here. I'm going to delay the turn to go at the end of the round. So the reason for that is that in this game, ranged weapons are disabled in melee range. What that means is that after the servitor whacks the enemy down to 1 health, okay, or it actually killed him, but if it hadn't killed him, this thing would have had to provoke an opportunity attack in order to get away. Now, let's talk a little more about enemies. So this one died, and when an enemy dies, it'll have a cognition point floating above it. If a tech priest gets next to that cognition point, then you will gain it. And that's why I gained it right away, is because I do have a tech priest next to this enemy. But enemies also respawn. This guy is going to respawn to full health if I leave him alone for 3 turns. So you basically have to hit things again in order to kill them off fully. And that's a very important thing to do. Another important tactic in this game is farming opportunity attacks from the enemies. I'm going to deliberately provoke an opportunity attack from this Necron warrior because they only do 1 damage, but that gives me a cognition point, and that's well worth the HP loss. And we're going to stand next to the guy so that when it provokes an opportunity attack, it'll get hit. And if I go before him, I can provoke another opportunity attack next turn. Each enemy or unit can only do 1 opportunity attack per round. Okay, so this one, I can't farm any opportunity attacks from this guy because if I did, I would die. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use his crappy damage to fully kill off this enemy so it doesn't respawn. And then I'm just going to stand next to this Necron warrior so that when it provokes an opportunity attack, it's going to get hit by both of my servitors. Servitors charge Machine Spirit every other attack, and it dramatically increases their damage from 1 to 2 to 4 to 5, which is a pretty big deal. Now you are going to go on a little bit of a greedy mission. You're going to get a cognition point from here. And you're going to walk over here, spending a cognition point for extra movement, but then getting it back from this thing. And then you're going to walk over here, spending a cognition point, to scan that thing for extra blackstone. In addition, I am going to punch this thing, spending a cognition point. I do enough damage that I know that next time I'll be able to kill it off, no matter what. And the question is, do I want to get on this platform? And it's tricky. If I get on this platform now, I'm going to go over here within reach of this Necron warrior. And then I might get hit. I could spawn one servitor in front of him. I'm going to go for it. This is maybe is a mistake. Because I don't know how am I going to finish that thing off in the future. I probably should have done it. But I decided to, you know, go there instead of waiting 3 extra turns for the platform to come back. Okay, so we're going to spawn a servitor here. It's not as close as I would like to this Necron, but it'll do the job. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to whack him. I don't know how much health he has because I've never revealed his statistics. And I'm going to provoke an opportunity attack to farm a cognition point. This does mean that when this thing steps back and most likely shoots my servitor, it will die. But I'm okay with that. Let's go here. I don't know if I mentioned this, but in this game, you know, you can shoot, move, shoot again, move again. All your weapons are on cooldowns, but you can use all your cooldowns every round. I really like that a lot. It's a nice change of pace from basically every other turn-based game ever, where, you know, you have to like worry, like, do I move first, then attack, or attack first, then move? You can just freely intersperse movement and attack however you like and use all your stuff, which is so simple and yet very genre-breaking because it's just not something you see in any other game. This attack did a lot of damage because Machine Spirit was activated. So you are going to delay, because I want you to go after this guy. I want that guy to go first, shoot my servitor, and then after that, I want you to go and attack that Necron. So what I'm going to do, I don't know if this is feasible, but I'm going to have the servitors make a journey over to this thing to try to break it. It'll take, I think, 2 turns for him to get there, but I'm okay with that. Now, this servitor is going to die, but he will give me a cognition point when he does, and I still have 1 more that I can summon. Servitor management and troop management in general is an important thing, because if there is a mission with more than 1 fight, and your servitors die in the first fight, then you don't have them in the second one. So you have to be a little bit careful about that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and whack this guy. This is a little bit... So the thing about whacking him is that I'm not going to get to break this thing, I think, before it all ends. But that's fine. You know, it would have, by taking away 2 bars, it would have lowered the Tomb Awake level, but 1 awakeness level is not a big deal. It's not worth, you know, messing around with. Actually, I think I might be able to do it. I'm actually not going to summon a servitor because this thing has 1 HP. It's going to have to provoke an attack because ranged weapons are disabled when you're in melee range with somebody. So yeah, actually, I think you can get over there and shoot that thing to death. Yeah, so this thing, 3 to 4 damage, I'm not going to be able to get. But I can go over here for a cognition point and then get a cognition point back. I can make a pit stop here and get a cognition point. And then we're going to shoot this thing, and we're going to get the 2 awakening level. There is another one of these pedestals, but I didn't get it, but that's fine, because getting rid of 2 bars wouldn't have actually changed anything. At the end of the mission, all that matters is the number. And now, you can just kill this guy. And if the enemy had gone before me, that would have been fine, because he would have had to provoke an opportunity attack, and he was guaranteed to die there. When all the enemies are dead, even if there are some that have a respawn timer, the mission ends. You don't have to go mop up the ones that are in the process of respawning. And then you get some more dialogue, or you get your reward. The final screen is kind of cool, so it shows you all the Blackstone that you lost because your tech priest took damage. It doesn't matter if your troops take damage or die. You get Blackstone for killing enemies. Each Necron warrior gives 12 Blackstone. You get the rewards indicated by the mission, Blackstone reward indicated from the mission, and then here's your overall awakening level. As it gets closer to 100, you have to get closer and closer to being forced to fight the big final boss. And because I didn't use any Canticles, I unlocked this one, of course, by doing other things like doing damage or walking around a lot or using Canticles. You can unlock other Canticles and have more choices of blessings throughout the missions. So now we have more Blackstone. We have more stuff to equip. We'll gear up. upgrade tech priests, and go off to the next mission. Now, I won't be doing that because I'm going to be playing on very hard difficulty for my playthrough, so stay tuned for that if you're interested, but hopefully that has given you a sense of how to play this game. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and or subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.